flat house beyond the planned campground in South Korea. This project proposes a new type of campgrounds that 100 people live at least for 6 months in multiple ownerships, experiment their own forms of living, and establish individual living typology through sharing and running the campground. We're living in a liquid society that the same forms of lives are not maintained but rather unceasingly transformed, which just solid containers or rigid organisms. Camping in Korea, which has settled as one of the leisure activity of the greatest demand, can be seen as one of the cases representing the resistance that expresses people's complex and diverse desire in a place of uniformity, conformity, and discipline. Then how does physical and the social conception of the camping in contemporary period arrive? Camping traces back to Seseok, which is the first camping infrastructures in the late 1960s. With a series of 5-year plans for economic development, nationwide road construction, emergence of the tour bus enables people to temporarily get away from city. Plus, advertisement of the camping as an ideal leisure activity promotes camping as a counterbalance to people's urban lives. People in cities can go to national parks or other holiday spots and camp over the weekend in a family unit or for a company outing. However, there was no infrastructure for camping at the time, so campgrounds were made by visitors' own creation. Seseok epitomized the emerging trend of camping of the period. People leveled the ground by themselves to set up their tents and eat. It started from the small scale, then developed into terrace grounds. Trails were made or extended from existing paths. Toilets were already provided, but later people made their own communal facilities such as cooking area or incinerator. However, around the 1990s, camping was restricted only to designated area under the pretext of protecting nature from camping. It changed the image of the camping into auto camping, along with a boost in the car sales. Auto camping is a mixed word of the automobile and the camping, meaning camping utilizing camping car. In Korea, auto campground was shaped into an enclosed flat field that has a basic infrastructure such as toilet, shower, or sink without any spatial organization. This camping trend has changed again in the 2000s, along with increased leisure time through introduction of 5-day work week, rising awareness of well-being, heated urbanization, and desire to return to nature. These resulted in the emergence of the planned campground, especially in Seoul, the capital of Korea. Campgrounds in this period have clear demarcation, diverse types of ground treatment, landscape, and they are furnished with many of the infrastructures and the camping equipment for accessibility. Continuously increasing demand for the camping brings about campground being diverse and competitive. Campgrounds infiltrate into golf courses, saunas are facilitated in campgrounds, school winter use are renovated into campgrounds for family. On top of using campgrounds as leisure infrastructures where people can get away from intensity and enclosure of a city, there is an emerging trend of camping that people do camping as an alternate living option for various reasons. Some people can't afford their living in cities, some want to escape from confinement city, some are not satisfied with the narrow living typology of a city. This tendency becomes more pronounced as long-term stay become available since 2013. Campground becomes a house you can share and collectively manage with others. So people have tried various activities in diverse scale, such as sleeping with others, cooking and eating with other family, or with entire people within a camping site, learning how to share facility, such as kitchen utensil with 50 other people. This experimental trend that people challenge the uniform typology and make their own living form are not only happening in campgrounds, but also in other environments with more permanent structures in city. Eunhae community is a co-living house for 47 people who split into 4 different tribes. The tenants have had an experiment of living together for 10 years and have involved in creating the house. Boundaries are ambiguous and composition in between tribes is flexible. With the ambiguity and flexibility, they can extract their own spaces in anti-typological forms. For example, dining room for 47 people are utilized as an alternative school, and a communal hall are used for music studio and the gathering space discussing about the management of fund they made. These configurations are made through experimenting different activity in a variety of scale in generic spaces. Even in cities, New buildings are being designed by a larger group of people who want to find their own ways of inhabitation out of the rigid structures of typologies, culture, and living forms. And campgrounds nowadays are being used as a platform where people can experiment their own living typology through a different activity in an unusual scale that is not easy to realize in city, even though the fact that existing campgrounds remain typological and prescriptive. Therefore, hijacking the tendency of existing campgrounds, flat house is a new type of campgrounds that people are encouraged to experiment their everyday living form in diverse scales and unfold a new architecture typology in open field. As for the site, the flat house will sit on a mountain Van Hong in Seoul, as flattening ground is starting point of establishment of one's living space. The area thoroughly planned district that underdeveloped residential area on north are being demolished and newly developed, and in the middle, business zone is located, and on the south, near the river, is facilitated with a few of campgrounds, parks, and stadiums. Contrast to its seemingly balanced mechanism segregating areas for sleep, work, and leisure, flat house is to exacerbate the experimental movement out of the containment of a city. Borrowing the camping culture and strategy, I made a scenario of a timescale of flat house. First, 100 people who want to camp in flat house to explore and make their own living forms gather. They make long-term rent of the land, engage in construction and design of the flat house, cooperatively run the campground, and every 6 months they can choose to stay or leave the flat house. If they want to leave, they can hand over their ownership to others on the waiting list. Which means at the beginning, flat house will only be facilitated with permanent structures with fixed functions such as workshops, sauna, and communal showers and toilets. Services like electricity, water, and internet are distributed throughout the site, and people can settle on a ready level of ground, or they can flatten grounds by themselves according to location and the size of which they want to design. As this campground motivates people to create their living form and opens up any possibilities, the focal point of this project as an architect is to create an inhabitable platform by modifying ground as the etymology of camp indicates, level the ground in open field. Thus, I collect a set of techniques of flattening and stabilizing ground and off surfaces such as in-ground outlet, light, or water. And how is the campground organized? Flat house consists of 2 communal spaces with permanent structures, and the rest part is an open ground with a minimum amount of facility that the agency is required to build, such as a large communal sink, bathtub for 10 people, or in-ground cave for forest bath. As for the communal space, on the lowest level there are 2 workshops to produce something for their living space or group activity. As you go up, there is sauna, where people can burn wood to make charcoal, and with the remaining heat they can barbecue, sauna, and sleep. Above the sauna there is a widest flattened ground where a series of showers or toilets are facilitated. As flat house provides environment for users-oriented activity in different scale, the rest part of the flat house is categorized into 5 different spaces: space for work, cook and dine, sleep, bath, and forest bath. First of all, space for work can be an open area but trees planted in green gives soft demarcation, or can be private desk on a terrace ground, or can add a more private moment with more densely planted trees or rock chairs. Space for cook and dine. Worktop or sink can be facilitated using modified topography, and the form and the size will be varied depending on the group members. Space for sleep can be collective or individual. Tents can set up on a nuclear family, while other social group prefers to share one giant sleeping desk. And the next is space for bath. That is a ready shower facility in a communal area. Bath in this context is more of collective uses, but in different sizes and uses. The last is space for forest bath. Forest bath is more of therapy by immersing yourself in nature, such as walking on mud or meditating. Rather than designating a specific program, is to provide inhabitable environment in various scale and form that can give more possibility for people to keep experimenting and sorting out their forms of living and the social relationships. In case of dining, you can choose to cook and share food with others in largely cut area with in-ground socket on gravel floor, and that must be someone who prefer more private dining time in niches surrounded by vast stations. You can share your sink and kitchen utensil for preparing food with others, while sleeping in a more private area occupying one floating deck. Individual water pipes are distributed across the site. It can be changed into forest bathing space. You can walk with your bare foot and wash them out of it. Space for bath on terrace ground can be mixed with sleeping area but with green boundaries to have some privacy. Flat house, amplifying experimental movement that is already happening in cities and existing campgrounds, is to encourage people to make their own living typology and the social relationship. Thank you.